Hi everyone, it's Friday, and that means it's time for Friday 5 at 5, where we give you reading inspiration for your weekend or anytime. I'm Michele, the children's librarian here at the Niagara Falls Public Library, and today I'll be sharing 5 books that I love for middle grade readers. And by that, I mean kids in grades 5 through 8. Of course, like I said, I'm an adult and I love these books, so grown-ups, if you're looking for a good book, I think you'll enjoy these titles as well. Now, as I record this, it's spring break for Niagara Falls students, so I thought I'd start with a book that takes place during spring break. Clean Getaway by Nick Stone. This one is set against the backdrop of the segregation history of the American South, and in it we'll take a trip with an 11-year-old boy who's about to discover that the world hasn't always been a welcoming place for kids like him, and that things aren't always what they seem. As we start the book, Scoob is bummed because his dad has canceled their spring break trip as punishment for Scoob getting into big trouble at school. However, one day, while his dad's at work, Scoob's grandmother, also known as G-Ma, shows up in a camper with other plans. How to go on an unplanned road trip with your grandma. 1. Grab a suitcase, pre-packed from the big spring trip that got canceled. 2. Fasten your seatbelt. G-Ma's never conventional, so this trip won't be either. 3. Use the Green Book, G-Ma's most treasured possession. It holds history, memories, and most important, the way home. What not to bring? A cell phone. Avoid contact with Dad at all costs, even when G-Ma starts acting stranger than usual. There are so many great things all wrapped up in one package with this book. History, adventure, mystery, suspense, relationships, humor. No wonder I enjoyed it so much, and I hope you do too. Next, we're going to do another road trip book, but it's a little different. Let's talk about The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise by Gemeinhart. 5 years. That's how long Coyote and her dad, Rodeo, have lived on the road in an old school bus, crisscrossing the nation. It's also how long ago Coyote lost her mom and 2 sisters in a car crash. Coyote hasn't been home in all that time, but when she learns that the park in her old neighborhood is being demolished, the very same park where she, her mom, and her sisters buried a treasured memory box, she devises an elaborate plan to get her dad to drive 3,600 miles back to Washington State in 4 days without him realizing it. Along the way, they'll pick up a strange crew of misfit travelers. Lester has a lady love he has to meet. Salvador and his mom are looking to start over. Val needs a safe place to be herself. And then there's Gladys. Over the course of thousands of miles, Coyote will learn that going home can sometimes be the hardest journey of all, but that with friends by her side, she just might be able to turn her once upon a time into a happily ever after. This is one of those books that you'd call cozy and heartwarming, but it also has humor and sadness and adventure too. It'll give you all the feels. Now, let's move on to another kind of adventure with Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mbalia. This book is from Rick Riordan Presents, so if your kid's a fan of Percy Jackson or any of Riordan's other series, they'll love this one. But, as I said, this one isn't by Rick Riordan. Kwame Mbalia is the author of this epic fantasy. 7th grader Tristan Strong feels anything but strong ever since he failed to save his best friend when they were in a bus accident together. All he has left of Eddie is the journal his friend wrote stories in. Tristan is dreading the month he's going to spend on his grandparents' farm in Alabama, where he's being sent to heal from the tragedy. But on his first night there, a sticky creature shows up in his bedroom and steals Eddie's notebook. Tristan chases after it, and a tug-of-war ensues between them underneath a bottle tree. In a last attempt to wrestle the journal out of the creature's hands, Tristan punches the tree, accidentally ripping open a chasm into the mid-pass, a volatile place with a burning sea, haunted bone chips, and iron monsters that are hunting the inhabitants of this world. Tristan finds himself in the middle of a battle that has left American folk heroes John Henry and Brer Rabbit exhausted. In order to get back home, Tristan and these new allies will need to entice the god Anansi the Weaver to come out of hiding and seal the hole in the sky. But bartering with the trickster Anansi always comes at a price. Can Tristan save the world before he loses more of the things he loves? Find out in Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. Next up, we have The Parker Inheritance by Varian Johnson. When Candace finds a letter in an old attic in Lambert, South Carolina, she isn't sure she should read it. It's addressed to her grandmother, who left the town in shame. But the letter describes a young woman, an injustice that happened decades ago, a mystery enfolding its writer, and the fortune that awaits the person who solves the puzzle. So, with the help of Brandon, the quiet boy across the street, she begins to decipher the clues. The challenge will lead them deep into Lambert's history, full of ugly deeds, forgotten heroes, and one great love, and deeper into their own families with their own unspoken secrets. Can they find the fortune and fulfill the letter's promise before the answers slip into the past yet again? Find out in The Parker Inheritance. And if any of you parents read The Westing Game back when you were kids, that book was the inspiration for this one, and it has a similar puzzle feel to it, which made it really enjoyable. And I think it'll inspire your children to want to read The Westing Game, just as it did the kids in this book. And our next and last book is a graphic novel, New Kid by Jerry Kraft. That means it's written and illustrated in a comic format. And before I scare you parents away, it also won the Newbery Award last year for being the most distinguished contribution to American literature for children. So, don't be afraid to have your child read a graphic novel. There's so many fantastic ones out there, and they're so engaging for many children. But, back to our book, New Kid. 7th grader Jordan Banks loves nothing more than drawing cartoons about his life. But instead of sending him to the art school of his dreams, his parents enroll him in a prestigious private school known for its academics, where Jordan is one of the few kids of color in his entire grade. As he makes the daily trip from his Washington Heights apartment to the upscale Riverdale Academy Day School, Jordan soon finds himself torn between two worlds, and not really fitting into either one. Can Jordan learn to navigate his new school culture while keeping his neighborhood friends and staying true to himself? Find out in New Kid by Jerry Kraft. And Jerry Kraft is actually making these books into a series. The second one's already out. It's called Class Act. And it's about one of the other characters in The New Kid. So we also have this as our featured fan club title of the month, and that means kids can stop by the library and pick up a free take and make kit that's kind of like a book club in a bag. Inside you'll find a DIY journal activity, so you can make your own journal just like Jordan has. There's discussion questions and lots more. So be sure to stop by and pick one of those up. All right, all of the titles mentioned in this talk are available as physical books at the library, and they're also available electronically. So if you prefer, you can download them as ebooks using Hoopla or Overdrive from our website. So visit us there to do that. And if you're using Overdrive, be sure to log in first before you start searching, because we have purchased books that are just for our own Niagara Falls patrons, but you have to be logged in to be able to view them. So do that first and then start your search. And I want to thank you for starting your weekend with us. I hope I've given you some reading inspiration today, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.